Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. The U.S. Market Update with Money FM 89.3.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to the U.S. Markets Wrap with me, Ryan Huang. We've got mostly green on the screen. The S&P 500 gaining 0.7% to 5,887. The Nasdaq Composite was the outperformer, rising 1.6%. We did see the Dow Jones Industrial Average underwater by 0.6%, losing 270 points, largely dragged down by an 18% drop in United Health. Otherwise, it seems like the mood was lifted with what's going on with the tariff talks, so to speak. Investors getting a bit more optimistic of what's going on between the US and China as they reach a bit of a compromise. To help us figure out what's going on with markets and where it goes from here, we've got Frank Cappelleri. He is the founder and president of CappThesis. Frank, thanks for joining us on the show. How are you doing?
Hi, Ryan. Thanks a lot for having me. How are you today?
I'm doing good, and it looks like markets are doing generally good as well. So let's get into it. What are your takeaways right now, of course, with the backdrop of the US and China agreeing to a 90-day tariff pause earlier this week? That seems to be keeping a bit of momentum going on in the markets right now.
Yes, exactly. And I think what it shows you is that investors are placing a good amount of faith in the fact that after 90 days, we'll continue to get good news. Because as you know, markets like to price in when they think something's going to happen. And I think it's extremely telling to see the large cap technology stocks doing the best because, of course, they were the most hurt on the way down.
Yep, and we did see tech, like you pointed out, one of the clear leaders, and consumer discretionary as well. And to that point, we were all thinking, consumers might face some headwinds, cutting back, spending patterns have been changing. To what degree does this change the picture, especially with the earnings season commentary you've been hearing?
Well, I think that, with the backdrop of the tariffs, I think it was interesting to see so many of these stocks do well. And don't forget, we came into this earnings season having endured a lot of pain at that same time. So I thought it was an extremely good test. And one of the things I was looking at the beginning of it was, how some of the early responses were. And of course, they were very well. And now to the point where you've seen stocks that were oversold now have become overbought, right? So I think it's going to be not really, I think at this point, we know there's going to be some sort of profit taking. And at that point, it would be very important to see buyers step in and buy the dip as well, because now that dip isn't going to be as severe as the crash-like activity that we saw in the past, but this is kind of how things result when you see a market come back and potentially go back to new highs. This is the type of action you have to see continue.
Yeah, talk about pricing in what's to come. One of the standouts for me has been Coinbase because of their inclusion into the S&P 500. How much is going on here? Because it looks like it's been on a bit of a tear.
Without a doubt. And that was one of the names that I had highlighted to our clients last week just because it was forming a very identifiable bullish formation on the chart. And it seemed like it was trailing the likes of Robinhood and MSTR and, crypto in general. And the questions were, why is it, not participating as much? So sometimes you see something developing, you just need a little bit of news. And of course, we got it with now the inclusion into the S&P 500. So I think that shows that, not just, crypto traders are recognizing this as a real company. And of course, it's growing along the way. And I think something like this, to see continue to move higher and eventually get back to its highs, is obviously going to be a positive sign going forward.
Yeah, I guess a big question, of course, is folks asking, is it too late to jump on this bandwagon? And considering the wider backdrop of the crypto tailwinds. Of course, you've mentioned Bitcoin breaking above $100,000. There's a lot going on with Bitcoin these days. Is there enough momentum to get into Coinbase right now?
Coinbase, I think we have to look at that long term. And I think the answer to that is yes, just because if you think about how sometimes companies or stocks get more accepted, it's when they get back into these larger indices. I mean, it's done enough to be considered a large cap stock at this point. To now be included in the S&P 500 I think is going to just one step along its journey of becoming, a much more accepted brokerage firm, not just for, again, crypto traders as it started out with.
Yeah, of course, that goes into the ETFs that come into play as well, the adoption of these ETFs, and that's going to see more folks jump on this as well. How much is this an inflation hedge when it comes to Bitcoin?
Oh, I think that it has a good amount of effect, but it's going to be an important point going forward because, as you know, the pullbacks in crypto, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or something else, are severe when they come. And so, we've seen that in the past. But I also think that it's important to realize, someone talked about this one time and asked if, when the market was crashing, that Bitcoin is just a bubble. And the answer was, well, bubbles burst and they'll come back. But Bitcoin, even though it's volatile, if you look at its history, continues to make higher lows. Now, those lows are sometimes severe, but it's in an uptrend, and no matter how you measure it, over the last 10 years for whenever it's been in existence, it's the best performing asset class there is. So I think when you're in a risk-on mode, something like this is going to outperform, and I still think it has a lot more upside.
All right. Interesting pattern. Bitcoin year-to-date up over 11%. In the past month, up 23%. Another space interesting to watch is Ether, which I'm seeing year-to-date minus 18%, but on the month up 66%. So there seems to be a divergent story of Ether here.
Incredible. And I think that's one area that investors are looking to see eventually outperform, because if you look at the other bull markets in the past since Ether has been in the picture, it has always outperformed Bitcoin along the way. So I think it has more to go on that side, and it'll be interesting to see if it can regain some of its relative strength we've seen in the past. But from a technical perspective, it just hit one of our first targets in the year of 2,500. It looks like to me it's regrouping again, forming another bullish pattern, which could be considerably higher with a breakout there.
All right, let's look at a shopping list right now with what's going on. We've got 4 stocks to watch. One of them is Kroger, which is the American retail company. What's the story here for Kroger?
Well, Kroger's interesting. Now, one of the highlights, some stocks that just haven't broken out yet, right? And so when you have a bull market, if we were going to have that longer term, you're going to see rotation along the way, right? And so, Kroger isn't really on too many people's radar screens. It's a, food retail stock. But if you look at the chart, it's come down over the last 2 days, but it's been riding this uptrend. And when it's come down to near its 50-day moving average, which it's at again, that's where buyers have come in. So if we're going to see buying, in this round, and maybe there's going to be some profit taking in tech after the huge run, something like Kroger could be a place where investors decide to deploy capital, at least for diversification purposes.
Okay, and operating in somewhat similar spaces, Mondelez in the space of snacks. So that's also something on your shopping list.
Yes, exactly. I was just trying to point out some areas that haven't gone overextended yet, right? And again, this is probably not on someone's looking at it right now. It's because it's down over the last few days, a few weeks, but still up a good deal from the low just a few weeks ago. And it looks like to me, trying to form a higher low on a big picture view.
All right, and also on that list, you've got AT&T, I believe, as well as Williams Companies. So that alongside Mondelez and Kroger are some of the stocks to watch out for. And that's something to put on your shopping list, or at least consider looking at it more closely. Helping us out this morning has been Frank Cappelleri. He is the founder and president of CappThesis. Frank, always a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks so much for your time and insights.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Catch up again soon, Frank. Stay on Money FM 89.3.
Before acting on the information on Money FM, please consider if it's suitable for your own investment objectives, financial situation, and risk tolerance. To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.